with me, Lou. Welcome. Okay, so we're going to start with a summary of what we've gone over the past videos, just a quick summary. Let's summarize the most important ideas in this chapter, which we've really been through like 2 chapters, but I don't know. First, you learn that your thoughts and not the external events create your moods. Second, you learn that specific kinds of negative thoughts cause specific kinds of negative emotions. So certain thoughts create a specific emotion. For example, the belief that you are in danger will make you anxious and frightened. Third, you learn that negative thoughts can make you depressed, anxious, guilty, angry, or frustrated. Are frequently distorted and unrealistic, even though they seem absolutely valid. So you might really think that the way you feel is warranted or valid, but it may not be. Recognizing the vital connection between your thoughts and your emotions is the first step to breaking out of a bad mood. These exercises will make you more aware of the kinds of distorted thoughts that are most frequently associated with different kinds of negative feelings. And then it goes into like, there's like a work page here. I don't know if you can see that. There's like writing stuff. I did do this first one. It was on anger, but I want to read, there was something else I wanted to read first. Boo, boo. Boo. Okay, here we go. Certain attitudes cause people to get stuck in an endless cycle of blame, hostility, fear, and loneliness. I will show you how to express your feelings more effectively and to listen and really hear how other people feel, or how the other person is thinking and feeling during conflict. The goal is to help you feel closer to the people you care about most. So not only do you have to be aware of your thoughts and feelings, but you have to take in consideration the other person. The other person might feel a certain way and really believe a certain way. So we can't just think about ourselves constantly. Okay, so now we go back to that worksheet. No. I've lost it. Here it is. Anger. So it says, think of a time with... Let me say that you should write this stuff down, and this is what he says about it. He says, did you fill it out? I have found that some patients and some readers do the written self-help exercises that are so crucial to the success of cognitive therapy. Others do not. They seem to be just along for the ride. Research has indicated that people who actually do the written exercises improve far more than those who do not. So, I know some people probably don't want to write it down because they don't want people to read it. I'm one of those people. So if you do write, it's really good to write it down, because when you write it down, you can see the distortions of your thoughts and the distortions of what you're telling yourself that create your emotions and moods. And it might feel stupid at first. You might end up writing the same thing every time because it's something that really bothers you, but the more you do it, you're letting it out, and then you can visually see the distortions in your thinking and what you're telling yourself. It's very important. Like I said, you don't want other people to read it, so maybe you don't want to do it. But maybe if you can keep your journal at work, maybe you have a locker, or keep it in your car, hidden so nobody can see it, or write it down and burn it. After you write it all down and look at it a couple times, then just go burn it. but it's very important to write this stuff down. Okay, so anger. We're at 5 minutes. Oh my God. So think of a time when you were angry or irritated. Write down a brief description of the situation that made you angry. What actually happened? Were you upset with yourself or someone else? So this is like a brief thing, and I want you to do it. Think of something that really upset you and just a brief description of what it was. For me, I have to say that something that I can probably relate with other people is when I got a divorce, we both wanted primary custody of my daughter. That was hurtful because for the first 4 years of her life, I mean, this is somebody that I birthed, that I grew in me and carried for 9.5 months. Do the math. That's about 9.5 months, maybe 10. And it was very painful and hurtful to think that all of that didn't matter. So when we got a divorce, we both wanted primary, and he ended up getting primary. And I was so hurt because for the first 4 years, up until she was in pre-K, I didn't work. It was just me and her. We went to speech therapy because she was slow, and I was the one home with her, feeding her, changing her diaper, cuddling, and like, we had wonderful times at that time. It was a good time. I enjoyed that baby. And then just to have that, it felt like the world was telling me that I was a bad mother, that I wasn't good enough, that I could never be good enough. And that's the feelings that I felt. And then I had guilt because what did I do for this divorce? Like, the reasons were me that we got that we got a divorce. So it was just extremely painful, guiltful, and I felt very resentful against him. So, second part is now I want you to tell me about the negative thoughts, feelings you were having in the situation and in the description. Did you feel hurt, annoyed, frustrated? What message were you giving yourself? Okay, so we already talked about that. Did you tell yourself that the other person was self-centered? And, okay, yeah. So I did. I felt like he was really being selfish. And it, like I said, it was that type of situation makes you really resentful and hateful towards the other person. And it's just so painful to yourself. Your heart hurts, your stomach hurts, everything. So after I wrote this out, now I already knew this before because this is something that I've done in therapy before, that it was in the best interest of Madison that he have primary. That I couldn't provide for her with health insurance. I couldn't wake up and take her to school every day. You know, but with her dad, and he's a wonderful father, he could do that. He could provide her with a ride to school every day and with health insurance because he's got a good job. And like, there were things that he could do for her that I could not. So after time, you know, it's been 2.5 years now, 3 years, I'm not really sure. Through time, I've come to accept that that was the best decision for him to be primary of our daughter. And it worked out really good because now we're pretty much sharing her equally, and it's like, if I want to see her, he'll let me. You know, we've worked it out to where it works good for us both because I can't provide her with health insurance, and that is so important. So I don't have resentment against him, and I'm not as hurt as I was initially because it was very hurtful at the time. So that was something that I had to go through. That's just a personal experience that I'm sharing, but pretty much everybody already knows that, so it's not a big secret. But that's a good example of anger. Okay. What are we at? We're at 9 minutes, so we really kind of just need to go, and we'll continue this. So write down something that made you angry. Write down a brief description of what it was, and then write down your feelings about it. How did it make you feel? And what were you telling yourself that made you feel a certain way? Write that down, and read it a couple times back to yourself and say, if this was a friend of mine, how would I be telling my friend that? You know, that's a good way to look at it, is if you were the person on the outside, would you say that to that person? Probably not. Because we can be really mean to ourselves. I gotta go. Thank you for listening, and only according to Lou.